Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen. With me today is longtime listener, poet laureate, and Taya Master Anne-Marie Young. This is your Daily Dose of Happy. We are so happy you decided to join us today. And Anne-Marie, about, when was it? I think it was about a month and a half ago, we had a representative on the Wednesday show with Jody Lynn Craven. We had a representative from LifeWave talking to us about their patch system and their energy solutions and so forth. And in fact, Jody Lynn and I have been trying that out over the last month or so. But they're not the only ones who are in that space, because there's another company called Huey Strong that's also in the same energetic healing space, and we have a representative from that company talking to us. So we got like both sides coming through here, which is pretty darn cool. But you didn't actually were not part of that program. Do you remember that program, Amory? I don't know if you were even aware of that particular episode.
No, I haven't seen that as yet.
You haven't? Okay.
Well,
all right.
I know you mentioned it.
Okay. Well, you're going to get the other side's education for sure. And there's a lot of overlap. There's definitely a lot of overlap, although the theoretical and conceptual approaches are, interestingly enough, quite different. So we're going to learn about that today. But our guest
What's this?
Yeah, our guest is Rob Rene. He's from QE Strong, and he also has isn't this something that always plays out, Anne-Marie? The person who comes onto the show as our guest went through some sort of major trauma, learned something out of it, got some real benefit, wants to share it with the world, and that's exactly what Rob Rene is all about. In fact, he went through something that I hope nobody ever goes through. But I won't spoil the story. Rob, first of all, welcome to the show. How you doing?
I am fantastic. It's so excited to be here. I love the happy smiles on your faces. This is going to be a lot of fun.
So since you mentioned happy smiles, okay, we got the vibe up. I think we can handle a little bit of the dark side now. So tell us the dark side. Tell us the dark story that got you on this path in the first place.
Yeah, just, life is interesting, right? I grew up as a young athlete, and I ended up being a runner. I liked all sorts of sports, but my brother was like 4 years older than I, and one day he was out doing a fun run, and it was one of those 10Ks on the weekend, and my mom took me, and I think I was like 9, probably 9 years old, in my jeans and tennies, and went to watch my brother run, and I saw this other little boy out there running, and he had a singlet on and his shorts, his tight little shorts, and he had his nice running shoes on, and I was like, hey, I mean, if he's gonna do it, maybe I can do it too. And so I asked my mom, I tugged on her, shoulder and her sweater and said, hey, can I run this? And she looked at me really surprised and said, you want to run this? And I was like, and I pointed at the little boy running around all warming up, and she said, sure. So I ended up entering and running that race. Had no idea what I was doing. Never run before in my life, but as far as training, and ended up running that 10K, walking and jogging and running, and I ended up beating that young boy. And it was like, a light bulb went on my mind of like, hey, I might be actually good at this running thing. And so I started following in my brother's footsteps, and I became a really decent youth runner. I won the national championships when I was in 9th grade.
Wow.
For cross country, and then got a scholarship, a full ride running scholarship to a D1 school. So I was super excited. My goal in life at that time was to be a professional runner. I was like, okay, I'm going to go make money at running, and then hopefully later on teach people how to do what I did. Was kind of my, that was my thoughts when I was young. And, life had some interesting changes for me, I just made the U.S. junior team, which is the 19 years and younger. There's an actual USA track and field team, that's made up of those juniors. And I got second in the country at our race. And, then we went on an international tour, and I won one of those races against 5 different other countries and beat that same boy who beat me. And I was like, hey,
he's a recurring theme here.
I am on my way, right? Life is good. I'm going to make it professional. And then that winter I was out on a training run in Utah, and My buddy and I were out there. I had a bloody nose earlier in my run, and we were out on this long run. We were doing this 10-mile run, and we got about 5 miles into it, and a car was coming down the back country road, and my friend heard the truck coming and jumped into the ditch and yelled my name, and I had enough time to turn around and see it coming. Said, I'm going to get hit. And this 4x4 hit me in the hip and threw me 36 feet. And so you think about that, you're 6 feet tall maybe, or 5 feet tall, and you go out 5 times that. That's a long way to be thrown in the air. And then I landed straight on my face and broke my pelvis in multiple places, and my whole face was road rash because it was split open in multiple places and just bleeding everywhere, and I was unconscious. So it was not a good situation. And the bloody nose I had earlier in that run clogged my throat, so I couldn't breathe. So I was in a bad situation. I'm laying in the side of the road, not able to breathe, unconscious, and basically laying there to die. And thank goodness my friend was with me, and he squeezed my hand. He could tell that I was there but not there, and he unclogged my throat, right? So that allowed me to breathe. And so he saved me that day, and I just believe that God has a plan for me ever since that particular day. I was like, okay, I'm here on this earth for a reason, and I wasn't sure what that reason was up until just a few years ago. I really believe that I've fallen into my path, or more fallen into. I think the Lord has led me to this path of what I'm doing today, and so it's really exciting to have a mission in life and try to really help people and try to make the world a better place, and bring smiles to people's faces who maybe have been frowning for a really long time. That's an important thing for me moving forward. So there's the dark side of my past.
How did this dark side lead to you finding out about these alternative forms of healing, though? Because that's usually like the really cool part of the story.
Yeah, it was.
The dark part, but
yeah, that was the dark part. The cool part of the story is I got really what I call hit by the second truck. So the second truck wasn't the physical truck, it's the same truck everybody got hit by with the pandemic, right? Everybody across the world got slammed in the face with this big health issue. And when I did, I lost my sales job. I was a traveling salesperson, and I couldn't travel, so that they downsized the sales force, and so I just started doing a bunch of research about what was happening and why. I was always interested in natural health, being a runner, and so I saw them vilifying a bunch of all natural doctors and health practitioners. I'm like, why are they doing this? Why are they like shutting their voices down? It really didn't make any sense to me. So I just dug in and did a research. And during that research, I found out a lot about, the takeover, what I call the takeover of medical system back in the early 1900s of how they really changed our whole medical schools. And then they really vilified all natural health practitioners back then. Back in the early 1900s, about 50% of our practitioners were holistic, and that's a lot. 50%, that's a lot of people. And now you look at the holistic practitioners in the world, or even in the United States, it's like a fraction of of people, because they've really vilified that as a negative thing. And we're all taught growing up that you need to go see the person who knows everything, which is the doctor, right? The doctor knows it all. And I love doctors and I love Western medicine, but I think there's what I learned is there's a lot of things going on that it was really a fun and fascinating trek to learn about the deception that I see is going on. So during that period, I'm like, okay, I gotta figure out what's going on. How am I going to help people? So I decided to go start crafting some all natural supplements. I'm like, I'll take something that's natural and I'll create supplements to help people. And so I found this formulator who was an amazing formulator. And one day he came to me and he said, hey, have you heard about quantum energy? And I'm like, quantum what? I was like, no, I've never heard of quantum energy before. I've heard the word quantum, but I had no idea what it meant. And that started a really fascinating journey. So that's the fast forward to from that period is I met this, what I call the mad scientist who's been working on it for 30 years. He introduced me to these products and this solutions. And, I was very skeptical at first because, like I said, I never heard of it before. I learned a lot about frequencies. I learned about energy. I learned about our body is energy, and it interacts with frequencies. And the more I learned, and then even more importantly, we tested these products with our community, and the response we got was just fantastic, right? The community was really getting great relief from our products, and they're 100% natural. It's all based upon frequencies, and pain relief is our marquee product. So that's one I like to talk about a lot, just because there's a really big problem with chronic pain in the United States or even across the world. And so there's a lot of people that are taking prescription medications and just taking lots of medications for pain. And I'm like, geez, let's stop, right? Let's stop. And let's figure out ways to do it naturally. And man, I'm on a mission to help people relieve themselves, with that chronic pain with all natural means. And I'm looking at all sorts of ways to help people do that. But our quantum energy skin patches are a phenomenal way to do it without medication. So that's been super fun.
As someone who does this podcast, I've explored with all of my co-hosts and guests, I've explored many, many different kinds of healing modalities. Many of them quite far out there. There's the woo, there's the extra woo, and then there's super woo. And each of these different woo areas has their own levels of, whoa, okay, we got some real woo going on here.
Right.
But I also have a scientific mind. I mean, for years, I was very left-brained. I was very non-spiritual and so forth. So I've got that going on too. So I have both. And
I like it.
So like
that's really
we talk about quantum energy. I mean, quantum energy is something I certainly believe in. I certainly believe it's real. Yet even physical science hasn't been able to isolate it. It's theoretical. I mean, they theoretically believe in it. They theoretically believe it exists because of what was originally the theories of Einstein and relativity and how the quantum aspect of light waves works, light waves versus light photons and so forth. They understand some of that. They've got some of that, but there's a whole bunch of it that has huge gaps in it. And what I will basically call the spiritual field has taken that and run with it and come up with some really cool concepts and ideas far beyond our ability to actually test them through physics. But we test them in other ways, right? We play with them in other ways. So the skeptical side of me says, okay, so here we have somebody who's on the program talking about how you're kind of inferring, you haven't actually said it yet, but you're inferring that you have products that are able to tap into quantum energy and use them for healing. And so the first question I have in my mind is, how do you know that you're tapping into quantum energy?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'll tell you the way that we do it is we take our patches, and let's see if I can find one of our patches here. We take these little patches. It's really simple. It looks like a sticker. But the cool thing about it, what we do is we spray a crystalline structure on top of these patches, and those little microscopic crystals can hold information. And so what we do is we program those little crystalline structures with three things. With a frequency, with a positive frequency, and the digital signature of the intention, and then also the digital signature of Bible verses. So we include 40 Bible verses on here. We include the intentions for the problem, and we include a frequency for the problem on these little patches. And so when you apply them to your body, it's really simple. You just take a small patch. I put it on the back of my neck just because it's simple. It's by your spinal cord. And it's out of the way. It's underneath my collar and out of the way. But the awesome thing about that is that within 5 seconds, it connects to the energy system in your body. And so then you go, how do you know that? Right? So then we have to figure out ways
I think he's reading my mind, Anne-Marie.
To prove that, right?
I was thinking that same thing.
I've heard that question before, amazingly, right?
I would think, yeah.
So we use these EEG monitor. This one's just a really simple one you can get at home. It's really a nice one, but it measures your brain waves. And so you can put this device on your head, and then when you attach the patch to your body, it goes in, you can see your brain waves. And so you can measure them. And so when we apply the patch, when you're in pain, your brain waves are going like this because your brain is active, it's hurting, and it's dealing with a problem. And so your brain waves are just all over the place. So when you put the patch on, you'll see that it connects and then it starts to go to work. And then over time, sometimes minutes, sometimes hours, sometimes days, the brainwave starts smoothing out because what it's doing is it's interrupting that signal from the pain. Maybe your elbow hurts to your brain. And then your brain doesn't recognize the pain. So then it's able to do its normal activities, think better, act better, and not worry about that stress that the pain is providing to your body. So like you said, it's really hard to test. It's difficult to understand. So we've got kinesiology, where people can do muscle testing and things like that people are like, I don't believe in muscle testing. Okay. You don't believe in muscle testing. Fine. Then let's, it's hard to dispute an EEG monitor. We have ones in the lab that have those great big hats you put on with the diodes everywhere, right? And you can really measure the brain really well. And so it's been fun to see how people responded to that. But so anyway, does that explain to you how we do it?
I get the gist of what you're talking about, and what you're describing to me sounds like you found a way to detect light signals and electrical signals, essentially,
right.
Which is certainly valuable. I mean, it's part of what EEGs are all about, and the ability to measure brainwaves.
Right. It's really hard for us to measure the actual product, but what we could do is measure the effect of the product on the body.
Exactly, yeah. Right? And that's what I wanted to touch on. I wanted to touch on that because, I mean, we often talk about quantum energy, quantum mechanics, and so on and so forth, but I want to make it clear, we can't actually say for certain that we know that this is a quantum thing that is going on because we can't detect quantum phenomena. We don't have a way to do that.
Right.
We theoretically believe that that's what's likely to be happening.
Yeah, and maybe we just term it quantum because it's something that's hard to understand, hard to figure out.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Yeah.
We name it that, right? I could call it Rob's healing patch, and it might not have the same
it doesn't
impact.
Vibrate the same way.
It does not vibrate the same. So,
yeah, but I want to really emphasize that because, I mean, personally, I suspect that it is quantum energy. I have a strong belief that it likely is.
Right.
I want to make it clear because I try to be as honest with my listeners as I can be and with myself as I can be, which is, we don't really actually know what quantum energy is. We have this theoretical structure and that's about all we have.
Right.
By the way, this really drives physicists crazy because they're trying very, very hard to find it. They just can't find it.
Right. And it's been fun to just learn from these researchers who have been working on, quantum energy, at least studying it for, decades. And, like our mad scientist, he's been working on it for 30 years and he's been following this scientist named Dr. Glenn Rine. And Dr. Rine has, produced a number of books and is one of the best, out there related to quantum energy. So, we've been following him and trying to understand what his research is and then applying that research into helping people. Cause that's the big heart, right? We just want to get people off big pharma drugs. I don't care if it's quantum energy. I don't care if it's red light therapy. I don't care if it's, what it is to be, all natural supplements. I want to just help people get off of big pharma drugs. That's the heart. That's the important thing. And right now we've got an amazing quantum energy skin patch that's really helping people do that. So that's what I'm trying to get out to the world is that, hey, we have a really viable product there's no side effects. It's non-toxic. It's made in the United States and it works really well. And we want to help people, just start reducing those big pharma intakes. When I was doing my research, it really made me mad that the average senior is taking 15 different prescription medications in a year. So it's like, that's just way too many. And then you think of that's the average. So that means a lot of people we know maybe are taking one or two. And guess how many, there's some people that are taking 15 or 20, 25. It's just like way too many. So we need to get people God made our bodies amazingly, right? It's so complex. It's so amazing. And we just need to get back to the point where we're treating it the way it should be treated and using using it the way it should be. I just met with an awesome doctor, about, interviewing a bunch of them, right, on pain and quantum energy and all these types of things. And he's like, it really comes down to detoxifying your core, right? We have lots of toxins, both externally with the air we're in, the foods that we're eating, and the 5Gs of the world. And then we have all the internal toxins that happen. So if you need to really detoxify from the inside out. And then once you detoxify from the inside out, you can cure your core. And once you cure your core and you get your body working the way it's supposed to work, then guess what? When you take the nutrients you're supposed to take and you get the water that you're supposed to intake, your body starts functioning in a way that God made it, right? And then
I'm glad you said that, because I mean, when you mentioned earlier what the average senior, and I now officially qualify as a senior, what the average senior is taking, I feel like I'm not holding up my end because I'm not carrying any medication. So like,
exactly.
I'm not doing my share, right? But apparently I am.
So you're doing an amazing job. I love it, because that means there's someone else on the other side that's taking 30, right?
Yeah.
Wow. So that's how sad it is. And, it's just nuts. So anyway, I'm just excited to try to help people and get these solutions in front of them, because most people don't know they exist. And all they know is that, hey, when I'm in pain, I need to go take, even the over the counter stuff is not healthy, right? You take ibuprofen is really, really bad for your liver and lots of things. And you take, Tylenol, and it's like, oh my gosh, you start researching how bad Tylenol is, where you're like, what the heck? These are supposed to be over the counter good things for, to help you. And those are horrible. So it's time that somebody helps people. And that's what we're trying to do.
So tell us about some of the results that now I presume these are going to be mainly anecdotal results. I gather that, I mean, have you guys done any actual controlled studies? I don't know what you guys do.
Yeah, we're just too small. We don't have enough funding to do a bunch of, double-blinded, multi-year studies. Our business has only been in business for a year and a half, right? And so.
Oh, okay.
LifeWave's
been around for about 20 years, so you got a little catching up to do.
Yeah, we're teeny, right? We're teeny and we're young, but we have done some studies, but they're all, just with the EEG, technology. So we're looking to do, we've done a bunch of kinesiology tests, but we've never done a double-blinded, study. We just don't have the funds to do it, but we rely on other people who have, right? So we're looking at other ways to do that. But just the stories we get is what's so impactful, right? I literally got a email just a few days ago of a woman who's had, back pain for 15 years and has had multiple surgeries on her back and always is in pain regardless of what she's used. So she's tried CBD oil. She's tried, literally, she listed all the things she tried. It was everything on the block. And she was just amazed when she tried our products. She goes, this is the first time in 15 years I haven't had pain. And she goes, it's just phenomenal. And you hear those stories and it's just like, amen. Right, that's why I do what I do, is because if I can help, one more person do that same thing, then every effort that I put towards this is worth it. Because that's a heart, right? Let's go help people. And that's what we're trying to do. Put smiles on people's face like you guys do, which is awesome.
I've got a question around
absolutely. Now, I also am very much. Oh, go ahead, Emery.
Oh, sorry, no. Hi, I just got a question around the manufacturing of it. So obviously you put your positive energy into it and you put your Bible verses and everything. How do you do that? Is it very manual, or
Yeah, so it's a really awesome machine that our mad scientist has built. So he takes in the digital signature of those positive intentions of those verses, and then he programs them onto those crystalline structures. Very similar to how you program a computer, right? By typing in information on the keyboard, it gets stored on the hard drive of your computer. We're doing something very similar, but it's more, it's open air, programming to these crystals. And so it's an amazing machine that this gentleman's built that does it. 100% proprietary, to us. So it can't go into a lot of detail, but, It's really fascinating how it works. When he first showed me, I'm like, what, how? And then, so the more he explains it to me, like, oh, okay, now I'm starting to get it, right? Once you start understanding that you can literally, crystals can hold information and store information, and then you can program them. Then you start going, oh, okay, now I get it. So anyway, does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out how you digitize a feeling, but we'll get to that in a moment.
Yeah.
One thing that I do want to know about, because this is a big deal for me and has been for quite some time. You mentioned the current state of medical science and where it's come to over the years, how it's very pharmaceutically driven and so forth, which is all very true.
Yep.
One of the things that kind of gets to me is how medical science has, you mentioned double-blind studies, has effectively eliminated placebo from the medical discussion, which to me is insane, because
Right.
if you have something that actually produces results, why would you want to eliminate it? That's the part I don't quite grasp. But leaving that part aside for the moment, to what degree do you think placebo plays a role in what this device does?
Yeah, placebo is going to be important in every product, no matter what product it is, because your mind is amazing, right? And your mind can do wonderful things, and I think you can even not use any product, and you can heal yourself, and that's just my belief in the power of your mind, right? And I also believe in God, and I believe that He can heal anybody at any time. So. What is it? Placebo? Is it their prayer that healed them? What is it that actually healed them? Is it the physical product that healed them? Right? I think there's a combination of all the above. To be honest, that would be my summary of it. Is there's lots of ways that things can heal. So the question is, does our product have an impact and on the body? And then does it have a positive impact on the body? And so we've been able to show that it does have a positive impact. And then just the results we're getting from the community and the hundreds of testimonials from people that it's positively impacting. It's just way beyond a placebo. It's just no possible way that it's physically a placebo. Just the numbers way outdo what any placebo effect would have. That makes sense.
I understand what you're saying. I have to admit my skepticism brain is clicking in, but I'll leave that one aside. That's all right. I'm okay with that. But I'm also curious about the similarity between what you described about your mad scientist, as you term him.
Yeah. I love that term. I say that totally endearingly, right? That's like
I could tell. Yeah. But I noticed the similarity between what the mad scientist says he's doing, which is to digitally encode intentions. I think about that one. And I compare that to the work of the somewhat semi-famous Professor Emoto from Japan, who was using intention to affect crystalline structure of ice.
Yes.
And it sounds very similar to me. I mean, now a digital encoding that has an extra meaning. I do have a computer background, so that has a very specific meaning to me too. So I'm really feeling the skepticism about what is actually being digitally encoded.
Right.
But it strikes me that there's a parallel. I mean, am I wrong? It sounds like there's a parallel.
No, that's exactly right. In fact, it's so important that I carry this around with me. Right. So this is Dr. Emoto's book, The Hidden Messages in Water. Right. So Dr. Emoto and how he physically proves that intentions have a physical impact on something is a really hard concept for people to understand, because most people are like, no, that just can't happen. That does not happen. But when you can show it to them and you have them look at Dr. Emoto's research and his studies, he proves that you can literally change the structure of water based upon just a physical an intention. Right. And saying something. He's proven that with prayers, right? He's proven that with other things. And his rice experiment is just so fascinating. I love the rice one just because it's so visual, right? You can see I'll explain the rice experiment to your listeners. if you don't know, Dr. Emoto, he takes these 3 jars of rice, and they all have the same amount of water and the same amount of rice in it. And one of them, he says to the jar of rice, I love you. And then one jar, he gets mad at, he swears at, he cusses at this second jar of rice. And the third one, he ignores. And I may have that out of order, which one he does when, but anyway, he takes all 3 of those and does that same thing for 30 days. And when at the end of those 30 days, you see this one that he cared for and he loves, and it's still white. It's a little murky, but it's the rice is white. And then you look at the one that he cursed at and swore at and had bad intentions towards, and it's disgusting. It's just moldy and gross and horrible, something you would never eat, right? And then the third one that he ignored is almost as bad as the one that he had bad intentions toward. And so you're like, wow, that's really interesting. And then the cool thing is you see the hundreds of other people who've replicated that experiment. So it's not just Dr. Emoto was able to magically do it. It's really something that tons of people have replicated. And then you get people that are into gardening, right? And you talk to them about how they take care of their plants, and it's just you start really understanding that it does have a real impact on things. So the question is, how do we take those intentions and then digitize them onto a skin patch, right? So that's the hurdle I have to get people over. That's just that we've figured a way to do that. And, but once you understand that it's physically possible, then understanding that the way that we've actually digitized it isn't that big of a hurdle after you understand that it works. And then you see and hear the examples of all the people that it's helped. You're like, wow, that's really cool. So then they say, I want to try it. And one of the things that we also do that I think is really impactful is we have a prayer guide or a study guide that goes with it, because we want you to say out loud each day. We want you to declare it with your mouth. So you're saying it, you're reading it with your eyes, and you're hearing yourself say it. And then you apply the patch. So you're using 4 out of your 5 God-given senses to help you with your problem, whether it's allergies or whether it's pain, or whether, whatever your issue is, anxiety, etc. We have 14 different products that can help you with different types of issues. But anyway, we call that the multisensory solution to the problem. When you combine all of those, it really makes a significant impact and improves the efficiency of the products. And part of that then is your mind as well. It's like, this is going to work for me. I've declared it. I've said it. And you know what? If the Lord heals somebody because they said a prayer, great. That's fantastic. That's all, bam. If I was that just conduit that had someone say a prayer and the Lord heals them, then, great. That I'm totally happy with what my work on this earth is, because I was just that little conduit that had somebody actually say a prayer that they might not have said before, finding me and my products. So
a couple things I want to mention. And one is something that I've mentioned many times here on the program. You made reference to the word proof, and I totally understand why you make that reference. I like to point out that in science, there's no such thing as proof.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
And the reason I like to point that out is because we tend to treat the word proof as if it's the final word on something.
Yeah.
First of all, wrong. And second of all, it's inaccurate where science is concerned, because science never proves anything anyway. Science is about collecting evidence and interpreting the evidence and turning it into a theory, and then, developing new evidence, and it's an ongoing exploration process. Yeah, no,
I love that. I love that explanation, because then the way that we talk through it is all of the studies, right? The stories of people that it's impacted, right? That's our study is the people who are using the product, and they're coming to us with how they're using it and how it's helping them, and that's to us, more impactful than a double-blinded, multi-million-dollar, multi-year study.
That makes sense. Yeah. I just like to make sure that.
No, I love it. I think that's great.
Now, and there's another piece of skepticism that I have going on, because I understand what digitization is. Yeah. I probably understand it better than most people do. And if you think of digitization as really just a way of recording information about something, then that's what digitization really is. It's just a way of recording something. The thing that makes my mind question, and I'm not saying that what you're saying is wrong or inaccurate or a lie or anything like that. I'm just saying it just makes me question, is in order for a digitized storage of information to have an effective outcome when it's applied in some scenario,
Right.
there has to not only be a way to take whatever it is that you're going to digitize the information on, there has to be a way to turn that into the information, but there also has to be a way to turn that information back into the thing that you were originally working with. It's kind of like a radio.
That's right.
You have the transmitter and you have a receiver. You have to have a way to transmit the signal, and then you have to have a way to receive the signal so that the original sound can actually turn out at both ends the way it's supposed to. That's right. That's what actually.
That's a really important distinction. Yeah.
So it makes me wonder, okay, digitization is one thing, but what's the receiver here?
Right.
How does that receiver work? Because that's the part that seems really, really amazing to me.
It is. What's is so cool about it is that we're literally using the body's energy, right? Your body is made up of energy. And so these frequencies connect to the energy system in your body. And that's what's so awesome is that we're just using what God has already built and how you automatically react to external things. Your body, even down to the cellular level, interacts with the other cells via vibration, right? Which is it's a frequency. And so you can summarize it in that way, that your body is made up of energy and it interacts with frequencies. And so when we put a positive frequency on your body starts interacting with that frequency. So now then the question is, how do we get that intention on to that frequency? And that's the stuff that the machine that we've built, that we've figured out a way to take those intentions and to digitize them in a way that then when you apply that patch, it works with the frequency on the patch to connect to the energy system in your body. So that's the most scientific way I can explain it, is that. But we have harnessed a way to do that and put it on a patch. So, just if you look at Dr. Emoto's stuff, right? It's like, how can he, have people say prayers or say words over water and have that change the actual crystal structure of the water? That's just amazing. How does that happen? How does that work? And,
that's part of the question for sure. I mean, because even Dr. Emoto didn't know. Even he couldn't say for sure how that happened.
Right.
So that's why I ask myself, okay, if I have a mad scientist who has figured out a way to not only transcribe that into a digital form, but also reverse it so that it transcribes from the digital form back into a physical form, I say, well, okay, now he's got to answer two things. How did he turn an intention into a digital form? And then how do you turn a digital form into an intention? And I don't see how that happens. I can't, my brain won't let me do that.
Right. Yeah. So it's so difficult. The only way we can do it is show people, right? And we can show you how it's done, and we can show you the result, which is the applying it to people who have pain, and then them putting it on their body and saying, oh my gosh, yeah, I no longer have pain, right? 5 minutes later, they're like, yeah, the pain is gone. So how did that work? And it worked through that process we've been talking about. And you could literally continue that process and to minute detail and never get to the answer. Cause like you said, the scientists still haven't ever figured out how to, measure quantum energy. Right. So yeah,
so your mad scientist is what we're inferring here without saying is that the mad scientist has figured out a way to actually do what the rest of science hasn't been able to figure out.
No, I wouldn't say that at all. I'm not implying that whatsoever. I'm just saying that we've figured out a way to apply those intentions on a crystalline structure, and those little crystals hold information. And when you apply those, to your body's energy reacts to those frequencies. So that's
so you're saying it's similar.
We're not saying that he's any smarter than any other scientist. We're just saying he's figured out a way to do that.
Right. You're essentially saying that he and his technology are essentially doing the same thing that people who play with crystals are doing. You're taking advantage of the fact that crystals seem to have energetic properties that they're able to interact with their body.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying we're a crystal people or crystal, because there's lots of discussion about that, but it is a microscopic crystalline structure that we're programming. So, that I can say, right? And, so it's relatively easy for us to show people that how that stores information and how it, holds it. And then when you apply it to your body, how you can, you do the EEG analysis, right? And you can see that it recognizes that something is introduced to the body. So, that's how we prove it. I guess prove. There we go. That's how we show it. How's that? That's
better. Yeah, I like that.
Is that a better way to say it?
Yeah,
I'm learning, Walt. I'm learning.
That's how you gather more evidence. That's the way I
There
like
you
to
go. That's how you gather more evidence. Perfect.
Right.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Love it.
No, that's true. That's a good thing. Literally, what I'm questioning you about is the same thing that I kind of wish I had questioned Darlene Green, who was the representative from LifeWave, who was on the show. Except she had less understanding about the science of theirs than you have about yours. So I guess I felt freer with you to kind of probe a little bit deeper.
That's totally fine. And I hope that people are enjoying our discussion, right? Because it is something that is complex. I usually don't talk that much in as detail because when people get confused, they don't want to try it. But it's literally, it's basic in the respect that here's the basic explanation. Your body is made up of energy. We've figured out a way to store positive intentions and positive frequencies and Bible verses onto this little patch that then when you apply it to your body, it interacts with your body's energy and helps. And that's as simple as you can explain it. And then people start trying it and they're like, oh my gosh, this really works, right? Or if they try it, it doesn't work, fine, send it back. But it's not a big deal. We're here to help people, and we're proving it out, by the thousands. It was super, super exciting and satisfying to be able to help people in this way.
It's an interesting question you just raised inadvertently there. I know that you haven't done any double-blind studies along, the more scientific type studies, if you will. That the information you've gathered has been anecdotal. So that raises the obvious question: how frequently? I'm not using the same frequency word. I'm using it in a different sense. I mean, in mathematical frequency. How frequently does this work for people, and how frequently does it not work?
Yeah, much more so than not, is what we're finding. So we have a very low, return rate. And so we've always offered, a return, right? If doesn't work for you, just, send it back, get your money back. That's not a problem. And so our return rate is very low. So by that fact, I think it's very, very evident that it's working for a lot more people than it's not, and abundantly so.
Well, I mean, that's certainly encouraging. I think it's also fair to say that very often people, if they find something that isn't working, they don't necessarily try to return it. They just give up on it. So we're missing out on something to count there.
Right. And there's no way to know those percentages, but I know, overwhelmingly it's all, in our favor, which is awesome.
So if you were to quantify that, how would you quantify it?
What do you mean? Just saying a number?
Yeah.
I would, let's just say the percentage of people that it doesn't work for that just discount it. What is that percentage, right? I would say that's a relatively low percentage in my view of the world.
Give me an idea of what relatively low is.
Yeah. So let's say 5%. I mean, that would be just a number.
You think this is 95% effective?
That's what I would say if someone, if you had to give me a number, that's what I would say.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. It's highly effective. Yeah. Really,
it's a subjective thing because obviously you don't have studies behind it. So, but that's all right. So it's a legitimate opinion. There's nothing wrong with it. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, that's fine.
I invite people to try it. Right? If you try it, it helps. Awesome. If it doesn't, no worries. Let's give it to someone who does. Right? So that's the exciting thing. So we're really out to help people.
Cool. So
Anna, were you going to say something?
Yeah, sorry. What's been the most amazing reaction to your patches?
Yeah, gosh, that one, the one I mentioned about the back one was someone's been in that pain for 15 years has been one. I literally, a year ago, I was at a conference and this woman came by with a purse on this shoulder, and she said she has not been able to lift her arm on this side for 10 years. And then I said, what happened? Why? She goes, well, I'm a card dealer and you can't see my hand. She's a physical card dealer at a casino. And so she's been doing this for 20 years. And for the last 10 years, she's been doing that motion so long that she injured her shoulder. And she hasn't been able to put a purse on this shoulder nor lift her arm for 10 years. And she came to me an hour after she applied our product, and she came up and just a huge smile on her face. And it was just like, guess what? I was like, what? And she goes, look. And the smile and joy she found off of just being able to lift her arm up was just, and she had her purse on that side of her shoulder because she hasn't had to be able to have her purse on that side forever because it would always just fall off. And then she came back the next day and said, guess what? I said, what? And she goes, I was able to sleep amazing because it's the first time I haven't had pain while I was rolling over trying to sleep. So just that is just like, wow, that's really cool. So it's just helping people in a way that that's definitely not a placebo. There's no possible way that it's just a placebo to help lift a shoulder that's been not working for 10 years and then being able to have it overnight and sleep and come back the next day and say how much the product is helping. It's just like, yay, this is like really, really cool. So, and then the back one, right? I've had back pain before, and I've had the chiropractor work on my back. And when you have back pain, it's miserable because you literally can't move, right? When it's locked up or hurting, it's like you can't do anything, right? You can't breathe. You can't, laugh. You can't talk. It just hurts. And, so to help people who've been in pain for a really, really long time and then it goes away. And I have hundreds of those stories. So it's just super fun, to get those.
So pain relief is the main thing that the product line does.
Yeah, well, that's the marquee one just because it's so easy to know when you're in pain, right? You know whether you hurt. And we have an immune boost product, right? But how do you know if the product is boosting your immune system, right?
Yeah, how do you know?
You don't know, right? But we've got an allergy relief product that we've got people that have been using Claritin D for 10 years had to do it every day because they need it. And they use our patches and no longer take Claritin D. And they're just like, they're over the moon because they're like, this is great. They feel so much better. So that's been a fun one. Anxiety is really a common one. And then an interesting one with COVID is brain fog. So if you look up COVID and just the after effects of having COVID,
it's one of the symptoms.
Brain fog is one of the most common side effects of the product, or not of the product, of having that virus. And so our Clarity and Focus product is amazing because it helps you just focus, helps you think better. And so all the people who have brain fog report great results, from that product line from us. So it's fun. We have a pet product, which is pretty cool. We have a mosquito repellent one, which is, I don't know if you've heard of Bill Gates and what he's doing with mosquitoes. But after I learned what he's doing with mosquitoes, I'm like, okay, we have to go find a solution because I don't want to be bitten by, Bill Gates's mosquitoes. They want to do some crazy things with those mosquitoes, and I don't want to have anything to do with it. So we built the mosquito repellent product as well. We're really just trying to do things to help people naturally.
How's the mosquito product worked out? I mean, what kind of results have you gotten out of that?
Yeah, it's good. It's relatively new. It's only the last couple of months we've had it, and we've got a couple of responses. Been fantastic. And my wife was the big beta tester because we have a creek we live here in Dallas, Texas, and so it's hot and humid, and we have a creek behind us, and so we have a lot of mosquitoes, and so we're out with our dog. We have a German Shepherd dog, and we're out with him every day and lots of times in the evening. And so, we would get bit often, and they like me, so they bite me, but they like her like 4 times more for some reason. It's like she would get way more mosquito bites than I did. So,
she's just sweeter. That's all.
Yeah, she has the blood that they love for sure, whatever it is. And she started using, as we were testing this product, she started using it, and we finally found one after a few tries that was just like, she didn't get bit. And then she did get bit, but she forgot the product. So, she's like, oh my gosh, this really works. This is great. And so now she won't go out in the back without it. And so that's super fun to, have a product that, trying to help people. So
yeah, that definitely sounds fun. No doubt about that. Emery, what other questions do you have?
You keep answering all my questions as you go along. A lot of it was about, like, would you get the same thing with like putting intentions into crystals? And you've already answered that. So I just find this fascinating in the fact that, we always have got here like a little prayer cube that we, before we have our dinner, we bless our food and things like that. So it's just putting that positivity on those intentions and the blessings into yourself, and the reaction that has to your food. And you know what it's like when you're cooking, if you're in a bad mood, it doesn't taste great. But if you make it with love, it tastes amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah, I 100% agree. Right. And I think that's the what we're really trying to put into our product is that positivity, right? And let people realize that it does work and it is helping people. And, people that have very critical attitudes and say this is woo woo, guess what? How well is that product going to work for them? Right? It's not. And so what are the percentage of the people that it doesn't work for have that critical mindset and attitude too, right? So, that's an interesting thing, but,
that's one of the tricky parts, because placebo can work both directions. You can have the placebo effect, or you can have the nocebo effect, which is you're going to get worse because you're thinking about something rather than you're going to get better because you're thinking about something.
That's true, right? Yeah. Like, hey, I'm feeling anxious, and guess what? You're going to be anxious because you're saying you're feeling anxious, right?
I've long advocated the idea that mainstream medicine really needs to stop being so terrified of placebo and start including mindset in medical practice.
Yeah, right. Well, and why has our medical industry has it discounted nutrition, right, as part of a way to help people, right? And it's just so incredible to me that they don't really look at the individual and try to find the original and I know some do, right? And so
some do,
there's lots of people in our holistic world and all natural space that are really trying to help people, but majority of the time they're too busy, right? They come and see you and they get 10 minutes with you and they listen to your symptoms and then they prescribe you a pill to fix it, and then they're off to the next one. And it's just the design of our medical system is, I don't fault the doctor. He sees 100 patients in a day. How does he spend that time it takes to really understand one specific person and all their medical history and all their issues to try to find how to help them, right? It's our system's messed up because we don't incentivize the doctor to help them in that way. Whereas the doctor's more incented to just give them a pill and get to the next one because he makes way more money with the more patients that he sees, and then the insurance companies make more money with all the prescription, so on and so forth, right? A circle that is just unfortunate. So, but nutrition is really important to our bodies, right? Let's take care of the core, and then we can start feeding it with the right nutrients. And guess what? It can start healing itself. So that's in certain instances, right? So,
and to your earlier point, you mentioned earlier how natural healers had reached a point where they were a tiny percentage of the overall medical population. But fortunately, that number's on the increase and has been on the increase for probably good 10 to 20 years now. So that there are a lot more people who are entering that space, which I think people are waking up, right? They're waking up to the problem.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, we're in a really bad situation. We need to start taking care of ourselves. And how do we do that? And people are really seeking out that information. The bad thing is unfortunately, our mainstream media just suppresses it all and hides it, and you don't even hear about it, right? So it really stinks that's happening. But I agree with you. I think it is on the rise, and I think that people are understanding. And so I'm just trying to help the people who don't, right? Let's get them onto the bus and let's help as many people as we can along the way.
So one thing I want to do is I want to revisit what you talked about at the very beginning, where
All
you
right.
actually tell your story about how you got hurt, you got hit by the truck, and you survived that. But I'm wondering, you went through a healing process once that happened. And I know it, well, first of all, I imagine it took you out of the running realm. You stopped being a runner, but it also had other effects too. And I imagine, I'm looking to have you fill in blanks here, but I imagine that some of the things you learned along the way led to, among other things, what you have discovered working with the QE Strong product. So I'm wondering, can you tie that together for us?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, my recovery was long, right? It took a really long time for me to heal. I did have one benefit, when I was going through that recovery process is my brother, whom I mentioned was my mentor. He had two of his best friends commit suicide because of opioid addiction. So I was smart enough to make sure I did not take opioid medicine. I think I was on opioid medicine for the first maybe 48 hours or so with that, because literally my face was, a mushroom. I thought I was going to be the elephant man. I really did. I woke up the second morning and my face was just out to here, and I thought I was going to look like that the rest of my life. So I really had a difficult time from a mental,
Sure.
I had a lot of issues with anxiety and depression and frustration, and I'd lost my love, right? My love of what I wanted to do in my life was gone. And, my desire of what everything I'd been planning for my entire life was just gone. And so that was really, really tough. But the pain piece was important, right? I think because I did learn that I started weaning myself off of as much pain medication as I could, as soon as I could, because of the training I had from my brother's bad experience. So that was impactful for me. But then, I started to try to run again, and I gained weight just from a physical perspective, not because I was doing anything poor, but hadn't been running for all of a sudden. I've been running for I think 10 years straight. And then all of a sudden, boom, I get hit. And for months and months and months, I couldn't run. So my body just filled out, my muscles filled out, and I got just bigger. And so then to try to put that bigger person back on running shoes and try to run, it made it really tough. So yeah, that was difficult. So the only thing, not the only thing, one of the main things that I take with me from then to now is how miserable pain is. Cause I know how difficult that period was. I mean, I went through almost the most incredible pain you can imagine, being, literally physically hit by a truck and your face landing on the ground and it's split open and bleeding everywhere, and your pelvis broken in multiple places, and then trying to recover from that was horrible, right? I don't wish that on anybody. And it was, really, really difficult. So I can empathize with people in traumatic pain, in dramatic pain. And then people that have chronic pain is bad because they never get rid of it. It's just always there. And so that sucks too. It's like, no, you need to take that pain that you have and figure out a way to get back to, where you are. And so that's what I have a passion for now, is just when people say, yeah, I'm in this pain, I've had this pain, and this is the situation I'm in. I'm like, okay, let's fix it. Right? Okay, what is it? Let's figure out a way to get you out of that, because God didn't make us to just live in pain every day. I honestly don't think He did. So it's like, how can we help people solve that issue? And that's what I'm passionate about, is just going and saying, okay, you have this particular pain problem and you've had it for X period of time. Let's go figure that out, right? Is it something to do with your toxicity of your internal body? Is it your toxicity from external environment? What is it? And let's figure out ways to help you. And then let's find the right people to help you get rid of that. And that's what I'm super excited about. So I'm meeting all sorts of awesome practitioners who are awesome at X and Y and Z. And I want to be able to take people that say, hey, I have this and I've had it forever, and I want to get better. And so guess what? Let's start here, and then let's take you there, and let's have them them help you. And by the way, if you want to use our skin patches to help relieve your symptoms while you can start reducing your medication, boom, that's better, right? I'd actually rather develop this amazing pain relief product that heals people, right? but
sure.
you say that and then, as soon as you say that, you get, thrown in jail, right? With the medical cartel. So, healing is a tough word for them. So anyway, I want to help people. And so we're going to continue to craft things and come up with solutions, to this problem, because chronic pain is not going to go away. It just seems to be getting worse and worse and worse. And so we're going to just try to help people reverse that.
So following up on that train of thought, somebody wants to explore the QE Strong product line, particularly the pain relief product line. How do they do that?
Yeah, it's super simple. QE Strong, quantum energy is what the QE stands for. So that's easy to remember. And then strong, right? You want to be quantum energy strong. And go to QEstrong.com and then, we've got our pain relief products there, and we do have some promotions going on through the end of the year this year. That's you can get gift cards, you can do all sorts of things to help do stocking stuffers and gifts for people. But we're really trying to do whatever we can to help people. So yeah, go to QE Strong, and if you have any questions, our support system support at QE Strong, right? Send them a note and they'll get it to me, and I'll see what I can do to help.
Very good. All right. Well, first of all, thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing your stories.
I love the conversation. It's so much fun to have a
good
conversation with people who really care and really asking the right questions, and have the left brain, right brain conversation is fun. So I liked it.
No doubt about that. And one thing that I've made a practice to do is, you like so many people who do this kind of work where you're reaching out, helping people. You found something that works and you want to share it with the world. And you do podcasts. I'm sure you write about it. You're talking to all your friends. You're talking to everybody. You're talking to everybody you can think of, giving them this information, telling them about, the success stories and so forth. And there are many that, are hearing from you that you've never met. You never will meet them. You don't know who they are.
That's right.
And I noticed a few years ago that we don't get credit for that too much. So I like to say on behalf of those people you've never met, you've never seen, never will meet, never will see, who you have been helping with all these different conversations you've been having and so forth. On their behalf, thanks. Thanks for what you're doing. You're making a difference.
That's so neat. Yeah, that's literally the first time anybody's ever done that. Walt, thank you. That was very nice of you. I really appreciate that.
Well, like I said, it's something that we kind of skip over. In this information age, we kind of forget that we're helping people that we never know about, and we treat it as if it doesn't matter, and it does matter.
Right. It does.
It
I agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree. That's our heart, right? We just want to help. So I just pray every day that I get up, like, Lord, lead me, right? What am I doing? Guide my steps. So I appreciate that. And hopefully we're helping people along the way. That's the mission.
Okay, Anne-Marie. So I always come to you last on this, right? So what's the takeaway today? What's the number one thing that's grabbing your attention?
I think the thing that is just keeps glaring out is that positive intention. So give your blessing, give your love, give your thoughts out to the world, and it will come back and you will heal.
Very simply and beautifully said. I love that.
Yeah, beautifully said.
So thank you very much. We appreciate you, Rob. Thank you to our podcast listeners everywhere. We will see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.